Welcome to another morning in Realistic Progression 1, and it's time to get a little bit further with technology. We've got the lunar range communications up, which is what we're going to need. I probably want to get out a little beyond lunar range, to be honest, and try to get some science from around the sun. And then we've got the research and development building. We've upgraded the launch pad, but the research and development building is currently in the process of being upgraded. That's another 300 days, however. But that will then give us the ability to spend on nodes that are currently locked out from us. Can't research anything over 25 science, which means a lot of these are, pretty much out of range. We could go for this one, which is solid rocket engines. That's a possibility, but nothing I particularly want in there other than the upgrade point. And we could spend on some more upgrade points. In fact, that may be worthwhile us doing. Let's see, what other upgrades that we are going to actually need. We're not going to need to go up to the next tier of launch pad. That's quite expensive. So is this, and that's on the process of being upgraded. Not too concerned about that or this, so I guess we could spend on that. So let's just do that to start off with, get some upgrades. 30,000 funds each, so let's just buy 5, and then we're going to put it into research and development, I think, just to speed this up nicely. So what are we now looking at for our tech stuff? 163 days, okay, and 300 days. I think that's fixed, but 163 days is much better. So I think I'm just going to warp there, and in it comes. There we go. We've got basic avionics and probes afterwards. That's another 192 days. That will also bring our research and development completion before we get to this. So let's just warp that to completion. And there it goes. So, are you now going to let me upgrade? Cool. Yes, we can upgrade to any of these nodes. Right, so what have we got? Basic power generation. So we get a solar panel array, which I'm actually I quite like the idea of that. An ST for solar panel, of course, we'll have to actually wait for for us to get all these, of course. They're not going to happen immediately. And that's going to take 30 of our 59.7, really? Okay, so we also get interplanetary probes. The Ranger 1 block core. And that requires 50 watts of power, okay. Early Saturn, Saturn 1 Mariner core, and more procedural avionics. Okay, fine. Science, we get the ScanSat stuff and the infrared radiometer. Be handy to have both of those. So why don't we get that one and this one? Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Hopefully that didn't come through. And I will then spend those again on speeding up our technology. We've got 44 days left. So upgrades, we've got 532. Let's actually just bring that down to an even 500 and just spend that more on R&D. So we're up to 35 science per year now. And let's take a look. Whoops, didn't mean to go in there. Let's take a look at how well this is going to improve things. One thing I don't really like so much about RealismOverhaul, it does take a long time for us to actually get between the various stations. That's somewhat unavoidable, but that's fine. These numbers are looking a lot nicer now. Supersonic flight is only like 20 days, of course, but not that we actually particularly need that. And basic avionics and probes, so let's leave that. And I think I'm probably going to warp to this basic avionics and probes as well, and that should give us an improved probe core of some kind, I would have thought. Let's just select that once it comes back. There it goes. Let's warp to there. And you're done. Primitive solar panels, we probably want that as well. So let's warp to that one. Okay, and we'll get a lot of these nodes unlocked. I'm not going to worry too much about the rest just yet, but let's take a look at what we've now unlocked in here and what we probably want to spend some money on. So we definitely want some primitive solar panels, so we could do with the improved version of those. And a medium, let's actually just buy both of them because it's only an extra 500 once you buy the first ones. What else did we unlock? So lunar range communications, so we already have that. basic avionics and probes. So which ones do we want? We probably want the Explorer 7. That's 10 watts of power it needs. And that's going to have to be compensated for with solar panels. So we're going to have to build a new top-level unit maybe. And Probe Core Avionics, we'll be buying that from the VAB rather than from in here. It doesn't show any purchase cost, of course. The early controllable core, so that's 42,000, but we probably do want that. It's 50 watts, and this one's 10. And what do we actually... Oh, that has a deployable solar panel, though. It needs 10 watts, deploys an 8-watt solar panel. Although that's 8 watts per... Ooh, actually. How many solar panels are there? Quite a lot. Let's actually buy this one, and let's start with this one before we start spending on that really expensive one. This won't have any solar panels built in, of course, so that's something to consider. And we'll have a look at the avionics units as we get through there. The spaceflight era science would be nice to have in order to increase our science total again, but I'm not sure if we're going to get that just yet. So here's that Explorer 7 probe. It doesn't have any sort of controls to deploy any solar panels from in here, and there certainly isn't anything in the actions menu. So what I don't know is any things in here. Doesn't seem to be anything like that. So let me just actually map range safety to the abort. And that will blow things up if we need to. And let's just, for now, build a little ton of sort of top-level probe equivalent to our lunar probe that we built previously. And that is generally going to be that Altair top stage. Let's just see what this is like. So 3423 when full. I've not put anything else on it yet, but that's the ideal. And if we have a... communications, if we buy that Communitron 16 and then maybe put it on the top. Okay. And maybe does this have anything built in? Not sure. So just in case. Is that activated by default? That's 4 megameters. This one is... let's just actually put this on... here, shall we? Put a couple in. Okay, so we're down to 3117 with just an antenna on here. Okay, that's enough to make it to the moon. But will we be able to escape with that? That's an interesting one. Yeah, okay. So that will do for now, and we'll see if that will solve our issue. It does have charge built in. I want to see if this has solar panels built in. It looks like it, but they're not actually deployable, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Hopefully all of those are solar panels, and we can deploy this in much the same way that we did with our previous lunar craft. So if I just move this up for a second, can we open and merge in... let's cancel a second. Let's just call this Explorer 7 for a second. Can we just open... yeah, save and continue. And we'll grab Lunar 1. And load. Actually, I didn't want to load. Let's grab Explorer 7 again. Explorer 7, load. I wanted to merge. Lunar 1. Where are you? There you are. Merge. There we go. And so if I just put this over here for a second, and I'm going to need to just put it here temporarily. That's going to outsize those, but don't worry, we'll get that back in a second. And we just want to grab from there, don't we? So let's just get rid of all that. I could have saved it as sub-assembly as well, but that's not going to be so important. And put this back in. There we go. And we have to take as much care as we normally would. And that looks like it's improved version of Lunar 1, maybe. Depends on how well. So what have we got here? We've got 7K, 8.4, and then 9.2-ish, something along those lines. Okay, it's close to orbit. And then we've got pretty much an equivalent top level stage, but I just want to see if that's going to be any better in terms of communication range. The antenna should do the job, but we have to account for whether this will produce power, or at least enough power. Otherwise I'll have to start putting in our own power systems, which is fine, but it'd be nice if it was built in. Yeah, everything's ready. Let's save that and simulate it. And you know when you're trying to prove something works or not, and it's entirely blocked by your own avionics unit, so that there's just no sun getting through to these solar panels at all. They're completely in shade. But if we right click, you do see that they're saying they're blocked by either the tank 3 or the avionics. So hopefully this will produce some power once we actually dump this stage. So we're coming up on orbit now, and time to Apo is 10 seconds. So I'm going to continue into orbit, and then what I'm going to do is probably just we want to head out. Let's just see where our orbit is. So if you want to head out towards, or you know, out of the Earth's influence, we want to head this sort of way, or out. So we're going to have to wait. Oh, actually, we're not too bad. Yeah, let me get into orbit. I think we can just leave around about here or so once we get into the dark side, so we can do that. Let me just get into orbit first, and then I'll put a maneuver node down, and let's see if we can plot something. Okay, so it looks like we're going to need more delta V. We're going to need 3167 or so to get out of the Earth's influence, unless I just burn straight away and just carry on using this rest of this 5 seconds. There's another 200 delta V in here. I can't relight it now, but on a live flight we could. That would carry on as long as we launched at the right point. Yeah, so carry on up into the solar system. So if we just added some more prograde here, you'll see that with very little change. So that's 3277. So a couple of hundred. So what do we have at the moment? 3117 plus 286. So it's like 3390, 3400, let's say. So what do we get for 3400? So we're not quite to the Martian orbit, and I don't think we're in the right position either, but we're getting out there, and we could just play around with the time. If we just change the time even slightly, we're at the Martian orbit there. Just leave a little bit earlier and we'll cross over. And of course, this isn't the right point in the year to do it, but yeah, so 3400 to get out to Mars. And we could do another node to get out, see if we can get back in the other direction to get to Venus. In fact, can we just, yeah, we're aiming prograde, so I can just say, can we advance this by 300 at a time? And if you'll see, if I do this, as we go around the orbit, now we'll be heading the other direction, so we'll be heading backwards in our orbit, effectively relative to the sun. And we can, just by altering the time, get in towards Venus. Now, let's just see if we can get... No, that's about the minimum, I think, without spinning more, but the same amount of delta V can get us almost to the Venus orbit as well. If I just drop that back down to, say, 40 seconds, can we get it to Venus's orbit? Close. We're still spending more delta V, of course, to get smaller orbits this time. Yeah, there we are. So that's 3467. So a few hundred will actually make all the difference in getting to another planet. Of course, you've got it online at the right time of year. We're not going to worry too much about that just yet because we want science from the sun. So if I build this and just don't stop, don't stop this first stage, well, it's not first stage, this orbital insertion stage, let it carry the extra delta V and then go straight away, we shall, we'll see how that actually gets us into the solar system. However, we're in the dark side now, so it makes it really hard to see. Hopefully, maybe you can see that. Not sure if you can, but let's just turn on our no connection. Okay, let's head around the planet, I think. and see if we can get a connection on the other side. I'm not going to worry too much about which way I'm heading. It's only a simulation, of course. I'm just mainly concerned about how much power. So let's bring that the Mech Jab away. So 1546 is, I'm on the dark side of the planet, of course. So let's get to the lighter side. Far side facing the sun. And coming up on the horizon now. There we go. Okay, so 1360. And what does this status display now say now? Okay, so 7.8 watts and 7.5, 2.7, etc. 1359, 1358. So it is still counting down. That's disappointing. So we may need to put a couple of extra solar panels on here or something along those lines. Actually, interesting. We've got some controls saying select tracking body. So if we select the sun, will it actually change anything? So just select the tracking body for all of them. And does that actually extend anything? I don't think there's any kind of animation going on. Is that still counting down? 1351, 1350, yes it is. Okay, so let's instead node in a few minutes. Doesn't really much matter, however. Let's switch on the RCS, which should be available. It is. Okay. There we go. So we'll point to the node. We don't have a couple of hundred spare on the RCS, but we can use this to get in roughly the right position, and I don't much mind whereabouts we're pointing now. We're just going to be able to do our usual routine of just spinning up, making sure the RCS is off. And does that stage have avionics, I wonder? We're spinning quite happily. And again, we could increase the amount of thrust that that gives us if we want to get a little bit more. Remember, we're not being too exact here. And let's see where that takes us. Let's zoom all the way in. Here we go. You'll see where we're basically going backwards along our orbit. We're extending it out that way. But we won't make that because we're a couple of hundred short. But I just want to see how this actually acts now that we've lost the avionics. Because the avionics, remember, is the big AJ-10 stage. And that has, obviously, an impact. So out goes all of our fuel. And we're not far away. Because that is actually not far now. It's we are beyond the... we're nearly to the moon orbit. Lunar orbit. Ooh, wrong game. Okay, so that's spinning and it's providing us with power. And it looks like it's providing us fully charged power. Before that gets any further, I'm going to activate this and let's see if that continues to be the case. So let's speed things up a little bit. Okay, so it looks like we are happy if we can get enough delta V to get this out of the Earth-Moon system. So let's just head back to the map view and let's head out. And I'm not sure if we'll get an encounter. Maybe once the moon's... Well, we won't do it on this orbit, but maybe. I think that's not quite far enough. But well, that's depleting a little. Not very much. Yeah, we are facing the sun, so maybe... Are you going to deplete any more? Nope, you'll recharge. So as long as we're pointing vaguely towards the sun, we should have enough for this probe section at least. And another way to do that is to make sure we have enough by, let's just say, giving us even more of a boost, shall we? So if we grab this and we put 2 of these in, can we get... We probably want a pair of them actually, so if I just rotate so I can see this easily... Let's get to a pair. So let's say, let me just make it so that I can snap this to a smaller degree. Okay, so 1 set there. Can I fit another set in right there. It's slightly too high, but we'll just use the move offset to make sure that that is more accurate. So let's just offset you. And let's get them so they're exactly the same. Okay, so this is another type of launcher that does come up as well. We have these two boosts, well, kick motors, I guess. We now have 4 of them. So they are all going to fire at once. So what we're probably going to need to do is that's going to be an awful lot of delta V, and it still would only last 28 seconds normally. So we probably want to limit these to, I don't know, say 60% thrust. It's not quite going to be quite half, because they have their own weight to take care of as well, I think. So let's just get that to 60 as well. We don't want them to be the wrong amount. So now they're going to last 46 seconds, but the delta V is going to be 2.14. We don't necessarily need to fire the main engine. that is another thing that we can actually skip, and that might be worthwhile. Just moving the LR101s into that stage, and the LR79. Only thing then is we'll lose the ability to gimbal by this LR101, but once this is essentially going, we can't throttle it. It's not like vanilla KSP. So yeah, we don't have any other way of turning this thing, so I guess best to just leave them where they are. And maybe we just reduce that even further, because we were having stage 10, once they're all going, it'll be 2.14. It's a little bit high, but let's give it a go, shall we? It's going to cost me $5,000 to build this. I could simulate it again, but hey, why bother? Let's make a couple, and let's see if we can get this. Let's save that. Let's see if we can get this up into space for real and get it out of the Earth-Moon system. Okay, so here we are. It's on our launch pad and we're in our tracking station. This makes it actually quite easy to look at when we need to launch for solar science. We just point towards the sun, and we want to launch either bottom left here going that way if we want to go towards Mars, or we want to go back here and go that way if we want to go Venus. There's not really much else of a difference. So let's take a look at where we currently are. So we are in entirely the wrong place. Directly towards the sun. It's sort of like noon, and that is the wrong direction. So what I think we're probably going to do is just advance time a little bit, bring ourselves around the globe, and unfortunately that's going to be a night launch, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's much we can do about that. Or we could go in towards Venus. That might be an interesting one. So for that we're going to have to go around a little bit further. So let's go for Mars, shall we? Or at least Martian kind of level. We're not going to be on the same inclination at all, so we shouldn't get any kind of encounter unless it's entirely accidental. So let's just get to about here. By the time we actually get up into orbit, we're going to be around right here, which is probably going to be around the right kind of area to try and push ourselves out and away from our home planet Earth to the launch pad. And I'll bring you back when we're in orbit. And here we are, just arriving at our typical orbit, but I'm just not going to let it stop. I'm just let it keep on going and see how well we can actually do without slowing it down. So APO is continuing to increase, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of delta V to go. This may throw us quite far out, we'll see. So there goes that stage. Let's fire up the spin motors, and they're going to get a spin. There we go, and whoops, spin and separate. Yeah, we have no avionics now. We needed a probe core avionics, which we now have access to. I just haven't really bothered for this one. I just want to see how far out we can really get from our home planet without really taking too much care about, you know, inclination or where we're going to head just yet. We'll figure that out later. Particularly, we'll probably have to head that direction. So we're heading entirely the wrong direction for it. But we should be able to escape. I'm hopeful that we're able to escape. Let's give it a go. Yeah, we're escaping. So we're definitely heading out of our Earth-Moon system. and we're sort of halfway out towards Mars. And that's just because we're not on the right inclination. The next one, remember we built 2 of these. I'm going to, go and see if we can get some science. And then off camera, I will go and see if I get a much more closer inclination, add some extra experiments to that, and see where we get to. So let me just head out into the sun a little bit. Let's just zoom back in, shall we? And head out. Hopefully this is going to let us... Oh, that's still not very good. That's draining. Why are you draining? We're facing the wrong direction still. No, not particularly. So maybe I have to select these again? I hope not. See, the spinning is increasing power, but not necessarily very well. Not much I can do about that one because we don't have any guidance on this stage. So I guess select tracking body. The sun, we'll just try that with a few of these and see if that actually has any difference. Whoops. Lose absolute exposure. The sun. 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 And that one. Okay. And before we get much further, I need to activate that antenna. And we're pretty much done. So let's see, hopefully this will last to our escape. If not, then I may have to take care about when exactly I do this. So away it goes. And unfortunately, there goes our electric charge. That's no good. So I think I'm going to have to put more panels on this. Not much I can do for that one. That's going to wait till next episode though, but we've got something that should do the job. We just need some more power on board. It was fine on the simulation, but not necessarily here. So maybe it needs to be facing the sun. Not that we can actually control it on this flight. I don't even think it'll make it to escape before we... no, that's 2 days away. That's not going to actually do anything. Unless we can deactivate it. I don't think this allows us to deactivate button. No, it has no low power mode. So it looks like that this just power isn't getting through when it's spinning this fast. Oh well. So what can we do with this? It's going to have to wait till next episode to fly it, but I think we're going to have 2 of these for a start off. I don't think we can get away with one. So let's just put those, let's say there, like that. That's going to bring down our delta V even more, but we've got it more than enough to actually get out of the Earth-Moon system, so that is fine. We could get rid of these and just hopefully we should be able to do with either the built-in antenna. We'll probably simulate that just to make sure that we don't have any problems with that, that these will still be, or this will still be able to communicate until we get to orbit. And then what I should probably do is select these, and on number 1 I want you to activate, so I don't want any deactivate going on by accidentally hitting 1 again. And then we've got to fill this with some more electrical panels. Now we have batteries and we can certainly do that, but that doesn't help if they're not going to charge. So we've got ST1s only and the fastest solar panel. The ST1s are 8 watts. This ST1 is 15 watts. And it's quite large, okay, by comparison to our probe. So let's take a look at what that does to delta V. So it's 3274, 3256, that's actually not too bad. So we could have something along this kind of line. So when it's actually facing the sun, and remember this thing's going to be spinning really quite fast, not much I can do about it. Maybe I can slow that spin a little bit, launch a little bit earlier to stop that from happening. And we also want to maybe up the force percentage and the impulse to bring that up so it casts us well away from everything else. And similarly, we could angle those spin motors and remove this again just to add even more delta V if we wanted to. But, you know, if this is 15 watts and, you know, it should be a quarter of the time. So let's say that's like 3 watts, 9 watts of extra power on top of what we already get from, you know, from these built-in solar panels. You'd hope that that would actually keep everything powered, but we'll see you next episode. Not to leave that on too much of a cliffhanger, but, well, when you come back, we'll be flying this into space and seeing how well it does. So, and what we'll probably do next episode is redesign this stage. We're going to get to the point fairly soon where we're going to be using the large AJ-10s. And when we do, we don't want this little stage inside a payload bay like this. It's going to be a true second stage, which means we're going to put a fairing around here for an interstage and have this be maybe even the same width as this lower stage, and we'll have that with just the payload bay above here. And over time, of course, this is going to get smaller or the rocket's going to get bigger, so we don't want to have these fairings be too much of our cost going forwards. However, they're fine just now. So let me just make sure before I save it that I've put these in the right position again. There we go. Otherwise, the ascent to orbit work perfectly well with these four. So we're going to get 12764 with a fairly heavy top stage. And so yeah, 3707, 4395 and 1426. So yeah, this should get, or we can even get more or heavier probes into orbit, I guess. So build a ComSat of some kind. In any case, let me just actually add that to the build list so I can try that next one, because we've already done one simulation. We know the craft in general works. And let me just scrap that other one that's on the build queue. So again, not an amazing episode like hitting the moon, but this episode we're really working towards the, let's just scrap that, scrap. Yeah, we're really working towards solar system science, and that's going to be completed in the next episode. So it's a two-parter. Yeah, scrap that, and we'll have the next one ready to go in 70 days. And eventually, the mission we're going to head towards is stuff like the Venus flyby and the Mars flyby. And that's going to need a careful launch window and a careful sort of setup for that to happen. If you think missing the moon by, 10,000 kilometers, if you're like half a second late on the rocket motors, well, imagine what it's like trying to hit Mars or Venus. So we definitely need some kind of avionics, which we're going to get to, a probe core avionics, to be able to mid-course correct to get things much better. And I think I'll probably add a couple more mods in here. One is Kerbal Alarm Clock, and that'll just help for launch windows. And maybe Transfer Window Planner as well, but we can do that with MechJeb technically as well. And then we'll see maybe about lunar orbiting or something along those lines. That's going to be either next episode or the one after. We're going to get solar system science next episode. So, thanks a lot for watching, as always, and I'll see you next time.